May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our freedom. Amen. Please be seated. If you can smell that, that's the smell of frankincense and myrrh. Those are some of the earliest smells that Jesus experienced as a child. Since we celebrated his feast day in September during a sacred saunter, during our season of creation, I've been regularly praying the private devotions of Lancelot Andrewes, 17th century Anglican bishop who is responsible for translating the King James Bible, who preached at the funeral of Queen Elizabeth I and who was chaplain and preacher to King James. His influence is second to none in the history of the formation of the Anglican Church. Thomas Merton, Trappist monk, prayed his prayers while walking in the woods in the afternoon and at night in his hermitage before going to bed. Novelist Kurt Vonnegut called him the greatest writer in the English language, partly because he is responsible for that phrase, probably the most memorable phrase in the English language, maybe one of the most memorable phrases in all languages. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. That's Lancelot Andrewes' interpretation, translation. And poet T.S. Eliot called Lancelot Andrewes the first great preacher in the Anglican Church. Eliot, Episcopalian poet, one of the greatest poets of the 20th century, was especially inspired by the structure, precision, and intensity of Lancelot Andrewes' sermons. He wrote a whole essay on the sermons of Lancelot Andrewes, and he was especially moved by a sermon that Andrewes wrote and preached on the Magi, the three wise men whom we celebrate on this feast of Epiphany. Bishop Andrewes begins his sermon on the Magi by quoting the first line from today's gospel from the King James Version. Behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Andrewes derives several points from this one verse, but seems to become especially fascinated with the meaning inherent in the word came. There came wise men from the east. According to T.S. Eliot, Andrewes takes a word and derives the world from it, squeezing and squeezing the word until it yields a full juice of meaning which we should never have supposed any word to possess. I invite us this afternoon to drink some of the nourishing juice that Andrewes squeezes from this word, came. In his sermon, he writes this regarding the Magi's arrival, the Magi's coming. This is Bishop Andrewes. They sat not still, gazing on the star. Their seeing made them come a great journey. Come is soon said, but a short word. But many a wide, a weary step they made before they could come to say, Lo, here we are come, and at our journey's end. We must consider, one, the distance of the place they came from. It was not close by as it was for the shepherds, but a step to Bethlehem over the fields. This was riding many 100 miles. Two, the way that they came, through deserts, all the way waste and desolate. Three, it was exceeding dangerous, through the midst of thieves and cutthroats. We can see how Bishop Andrewes here derives a world in his prayerful, biblically informed imagination from this one word, came. He then continues by reflecting on the time of year in which the Magi traveled. Now, the fact that most biblical scholars today insist that we have no idea what time of year the Magi traveled does not take away the brilliance from Andrewes' reflections, which inspired T.S. Eliot to write the poem you just heard David Griggs Reed, The Journey of the Magi, and to include Andrew's words at the beginning of his poem. Bishop Andrews writes, "Last we consider the time of their coming, the season of the year. It was no summer progress, a cold coming they had of it at this time of the year, just the worst time of the year to take a journey, and especially a long journey. The ways deep, the weather sharp, the days short, the sun farthest off, in the very dead of winter. And these difficulties they overcame of a wearisome, dangerous, unseasonable journey, and for all this they came." In describing the gritty, grimy, and dangerous struggle of the Magi, Andrews is also describing the struggle of his own and our own faith journey. A journey that includes doubt and complaining and lament and despair, wondering if this is all folly. Since Andrew's writings were instrumental in Eliot's coming to faith, many believe that his poem, Journey of the Magi, which he wrote soon after his conversion to Christianity, described his own spiritual journey. When Eliot wrote this poem, not only was he a fairly new Christian, he was also in the throes of a difficult, disintegrating marriage. Coming to the faith at midlife, Eliot's conversion was not a simple matter of belief out of unbelief, but of a long, slow, clearly painful process of letting go of one life and clinging desperately to another. Like the Magi, the new convert travels out of one country into a sometimes dark, dank, unfamiliar place, where the sleep is often restless, the mission undefined. Is it a birth or a death? "I had seen birth and death," he writes, "but I thought they were different. This birth was hard and bitter agony for us, like death, our death." It was indeed a birth and a death, both true within the breadth of Anglican comprehensiveness, which I preached on just a couple days ago. In Lancelot Andrews' sermon, he also emphasizes Anglican incarnationalism by stressing the importance of the body in worship. He writes, "When the Magi found Christ, the end of their seeing, coming, seeking, they worshipped him. They worshipped him with their goods, frankincense, myrrh, gold, with their soul, and with their bodies. They knelt, genuflected." We too worship God, but three ways. With the soul God hath inspired, with the worldly good he hath vouchsafed to bless us withal, and three, with the body he hath ordained us. He says, "If he hath framed that body of yours and every member of it, let him have the honor both of head and knee." The wise men knelt, and every member else. If all our worship be inward only, with our, I love this phrase, with our hearts only and not also our hats, as some fondly imagine, we give him but one of three. We bid him be content with that. He get no more but inward worship. With the body, no less than with the soul, God is to be worshipped. Glorify God with your bodies, for they are God's, saith the Apostle Paul. So on this Epiphany, when our service invites us to engage our bodily senses, sense of smell, taste, sight, hearing, touch, I hear Lancelot Andrews' great sermon on the Magi, summing up and echoing the messages that I've been preaching during this season for years. The acknowledgement that our faith journey is messy, and yet Emmanuel is with us in the mess. The spirituality of Anglican comprehensiveness that holds multiple and even conflicting perspectives at once, birth and death, and the Anglican emphasis on our bodies in worship, bodies which bow and kneel, and those bodies which get up early when we prefer to sleep in, which show up on a Tuesday afternoon, our bodies which drive to church in the dark before the dawn, sometimes many strenuous miles. Thinking of those who drive all the way from Shelter Cove and long distances, like our organist, so that we can bring our engaged, incarnated presence into this community on Sundays and special feast days like this. Because we, like the Magi, have been led by a God who does not demand our worship. God doesn't need our worship. But God longs to grant us abundant life when we come to him with our messiness, with our contradictions, with our full selves, humbly kneeling down, bowing in worship before the mystery that is him.